Introducing new Sylvania LED Ultra Fog and Power Sport lights. This powerful upgrade delivers cool white clarity and crisp visibility on the road ahead, so you can reignite the love for your car with lights that make it feel like day one. And built with a compact design for a DIY install, these fog lights are backed by over 100 years of lighting expertise to bring you LED Ultra night vision and help you see better at night. It's time to fall for your car all over again. Sylvania, light that lasts.
Let's say your small business has a problem, like maybe one of your doggy daycare customers had an accident. You might say something like,
"Doggone it!
Hi, Chihuahua!"
Holy schnauzers.
But if you need someone who can actually help, just say,
"Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there."
And get help filing a claim from your local State Farm agent. For your small business insurance needs, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
A warm and friendly hello, welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the Visa Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by one of our good friends, Jovan Alford, who does great work over at Total Sports Live, does great work over at Fansided. We have to talk with him about what is a very, very murky picture out there with the MLB playoffs. Additionally, we're going to be chatting with him about some teams are getting a little bit hot and cold, the inconsistency of the Mets, and whether or not the Philadelphia Phillies can actually pitch Aaron Nola in the playoffs, as he's based out there in Philadelphia. So, going to talk quite a bit of Phillies and so much more with him in segment number 2. In the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways we offer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please send these into the timeline. And the other way is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions today, everything is powered by EdgeBoost. EdgeBoost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to their funds whenever and wherever with EdgeBoost. 100% of gambling transactions do get approved, and when you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar-for-dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Monday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Blue Jays are the top over team in all of baseball, 82 over, 62 unders, and 6 pushes, but this was an underwhelming game that they won in 11 innings. 2-1 the final as Trey Yesevich, he came in with his first MLB start and looked really good. Gave up a run in the first inning, but 9 strikeouts, 5 innings pitched, allowing that 1 run. From there, Brandon Little, Sir Anthony Dominguez, Louis Varland, Jeff Hoffman, all in a scoreless inning, and Braden Fisher, scoreless 10th and 11th innings to be able to get the job done. Blue Jays go just 1 of 7 with runners in scoring position, despite this going 11 innings, and for the Rays, 1 of 11 with men in scoring position as Joe Boyle. Boyle did rule. 6 scoreless innings. From there, Garrett Clevenger, a scoreless inning. Brian Baker gives up a run in an inning. Pete Fairbanks, Griffin Jacks, they both led to scoreless inning. Kevin Kelly gives up an unearned run in the 11th inning. George Springer was able to get an RBI single, and that was the difference. For the Baltimore Orioles, they have been a really good road under team, and they played another on the road on Monday as they get the job done 4-1 over the Chicago White Sox. Now for Baltimore, 29 overs, 44 unders, and 3 pushes on the road thus far this season. And for Baltimore, Kyle Bradish, a relatively solid start. He allows 1 run in 5 innings. They give up 4 walks, but punch out 9. Diedrich ends 3 scoreless innings in long relief to get the save, and Cade Stout, a scoreless inning. Klunkowski does go deep off of Tyler Alexander, 15th home run season, as Tyler Gilbert was the opener, scoreless inning out of him. Sean Burke has a bulk guy, 1 run allowed in 4 innings, and then Steven Wilson gives up a run in 2/3 of an inning. Anderson gives up that home run, 2 runs in 1/3 of an inning, and Mike Vasil has been a really good long guy, 3 scoreless innings. For the New York Yankees, absolutely nothing doing for them against the Minnesota Twins. They fall in this game by a count of 7-0 as the Yankees coming off of Sunday Night Baseball did not look sharp, and Carlos Rodon gave a relatively solid start. 2 runs allowed in 6 innings, including a home run. Going deep for the Minnesota Twins, it was number 15 of the campaign for Brooks Lee. From there, Luke Weaver, man, this was not great. 5 runs allowed in 1/3 of an inning. Camilo Doval, 2/3 of an inning, scoreless. Simile, scoreless inning, but For the Yankees, nothing doing off of Simeon Woods Richardson. 11 punch-outs in 6 scoreless innings. Travis Adams, along with Pearson Ewell were able to give you a scoreless inning. For the Cincinnati Reds, they have been your best under team in all of baseball, but things got very overwhelming for them on Monday. They took down the St. Louis Cardinals by a count of 11-6 as for the Reds, 84 unders, 58 overs, and 8 pushes thus far this season. And for the Reds, they did it with only 1 home run. Cousin Sal Stewart, his 4th home run campaign off of Matthew Liberatore, who did not have it in this one. 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 6 innings. Bullpen really did not have it, though. How about Kyle Lee giving up 4 runs in an inning? Chris Roycroft, 3 runs allowed in a third of an inning. John King was not the king, 2/3 of an inning scoreless. Ryan Fernandez, third of an inning, he gives up a run. And Grayson Garicifo, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. For the Cardinals, they did go 6 of 11 with men in scoring position. And for the Reds, Zach Littell gave up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings. From there, Grant Ashcraft was a load of Ashcraft, 2 runs allowed in an inning. Tony Santina out of the bullpen scoreless. And then Connor Phillips and Emilio Pagan were both able to turn a scoreless inning, but not enough for the St. Louis Cardinals to be able to get the job done there. For the Astros, they do get the job done against the Walker, Texas Rangers, this by a count of 6-3 as for the Rangers, they got Jack Leiter getting lightered up. 6 runs, 3 of which were given up in 6 2/3 innings. Hurt out there by a pair of errors, one of which was his own throwing error, but that said, he did give up a home run as it was number 2 of the campaign to the young gun in Mr. Zachary Cole. From there, the Rangers bullpen was able to hold down the fort. You had a out of the bullpen from Jacob Webb, Carl Edwards Jr., Carls Jr. with a scoreless inning, and you had Josh Young get his 14th home run season off of Jason Alexander. Did not pitch like Costanza in this one. He does give up 3 runs in 4 1/3 innings, only one of which was earned. Jeremy Pena had a rough error out there in the field. From there, Stephen Okert, 1 1/3 innings scoreless. Brian King was the king of being able to give you 5 outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jaden Murray, he got an out scoreless, and Bryant Abreu, a scoreless inning to be able to polish things off. The Arizona Diamondbacks polish off the San Francisco Giants. 8-1 the final is. For San Francisco, not quite what they were hoping for out of the bullpen in this one, as Kai-Wei Tang actually was not bad. Not a lot of length, but 100 run, give it up in 4 innings. From there, Matt Gage gives up a run in an inning. Yoel Piguero gives up 2 runs in a third of an inning. Joey Lucchesi, 3 runs, 2 of which were in 2/3 of an inning. Keaton Wynn, he goes for 2 innings. He allows a run. Lone form of offense for the Giants. Casey Schmidt, 11th home run season. That comes off of Zach Gallen, who filled it up, giving up a solo run in 6 innings of work. Taylor Rashi, 2 scoreless innings, and Jalen Beeks was able to give you a scoreless inning of his own. You had plenty of scoreless innings provided by the Chicago Cubs. 4-0, they were able to take down the Pittsburgh Pirates as for the Cubs, Jamison Tyon, very solid start, 6 scoreless innings. Michael Soroka comes in for 2 scoreless innings, and Porter Hodge, Brad Keller, they both give you a combined scoreless inning. Pete Crow Armstrong, who hasn't gone deep in a very long time, finally went yard, 29th home run season, and Braxton Ashcraft gives one up to Michael Busch, 28th home run season for Ashcraft, gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings. Other home run was given up by Cam Sanders, 1 2/3 innings, actually was part of the Cubs organization at one point, giving up the home run to Crow Armstrong. From there, Kyle Nicholas, 2 scoreless innings, and Doherty Barretta was able to come in. He gave you 4 outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and to have this up by midnight Pacific, 3 o'clock a.m. Eastern, so we'll see if we're able to get you that Dodgers final, but we did have the Atlanta Braves get the job done against the Washington Nationals by a count of 11-3. Spencer Strider, good start here. 1 run allowed in 7 innings. That 1 run, a solo home run to Dallin Lyle, 6th home run of the campaign. You did have Connor Siebold get no outs out of the bullpen and gave up 2 runs. That's not great, but Alexis Diaz and Dylan Lee lend a scoreless inning and a trio bombs for the Atlanta Braves. Drake Baldwin, his 16th home run season. Ronald Acuna Jr., his 17th, and Matt Olson, his 26th home run season for Olson. Goes deep off of Mitchell Parker, yet another rough start from him. 6 runs allowed in 5 innings. Other 2 home runs come off of Orlando Robalto, who gives up 3 runs in an inning. Shunkusuke Ogasawara, he comes in for 2 innings, gives up 2 runs. Connor Pilkington, a scoreless inning. And as the Washington Nationals back to where they have been for much of the season, losing, and currently I'm doing this in the bottom of the 9th inning with the Dodgers down by a count of 5-4 against the Philadelphia Phillies. As for the LA Dodgers, they got a very good start / bulk appearance out of Emmett Sheehan because they used an opener in Anthony Banda, who gives up a home run to Kyle Schwarber, his 53rd home run of the campaign. For Sheehan, he gives up just 1 hit and 1 run from there in 5 2/3 innings, but the bullpen has really unraveled. Jack Dreher gives up a home run, 2 runs in total in an inning. Alex Vesia, he gives up a home run in an inning. Tanner Scott, a scoreless inning. And for the Dodgers, you do have a pair of bombs in this game, as Ranger Suarez gave one up to Max Muncy, 18th home run season. Mookie Betts was the Betts around. He goes deep off of Ryan Kirkering, 19th home run season for Suarez, 3 runs allowed over the course of 6 innings. Kirkering a solo home run in his inning of work. Matt Strom a scoreless inning, and right now Jovan trying to close this thing out. As for the Phillies' other 2 home runs, you had Will Wilson go deep off of Jack Dreyer, 5th home run of the campaign, and Vesia gave one up to Bryce Harper, his 27th home run of the season. And then just while recording, the Dodgers were able to tie it up as you had Andy Paz be able to get his 25th home run of the campaign. That does come off of Jovan. We do know that we are going to be able to get the over in that game, and if you're taking a look at trend-wise what we've been getting in Major League Baseball this season, it's been an underwhelming season overall, but if you look at the over rate over the last 30 days, right around about 52.5%, 201 overs to 182 unders. Don't know if the Dodgers won or lost on Monday at the time of recording, but favorites on the money line, they've had a rough go of it recently, not including that game, 217 and 178 on the money line over the last 30 days. That's less than 55%. Last 7 days, favorites have gone online, though, 54 and 34 on the money line, with the over rate being right around about 51%, 47 overs to 44 unders. And if you look at the season to date, the under rate is right around about 51.1%, 1,053 overs, 1,099 unders, with money line favorites sitting at about 56.6%, 1,257 and 965. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we talk about this murky playoff picture, the Phillies, Aaron Nola, whether he should be playing, whether or not he should be pitching in the playoffs, and so much more with Jovan Alford. Does great work over at Total Sports Live, and joins me next right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think golder! Because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here! Made for your chicken favorites.
At participating McDonald's for a limited time.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Jovan Alford aboard. He does such a tremendous job taking a look at this great game of baseball over at Fansided along Total Sports Live. I know that he's doing a great job covering a little bit of everything Philadelphia, as the Eagles are going to be giving us some excitement. What we get out of these 76ers is anyone's guess. I don't even know if Jovan knows what we're going to get there because, well, the 76ers are always a trip to say the least, but Jovan, he does a great job of being able to follow it all, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at his first name, Jovan, and the number 10 altogether. And Jovan, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
I'm doing good, Greg. Glad to be on. It's always a good time talking baseball with you, especially this time of the year where we have playoffs coming up. Like you said, the Sixers, we will save them for another part of the season. But right now it's baseball time. As playoffs are on the horizon. The Phillies are doing their thing. So there's no other better time in sports right now.
And fortunately for us, this is the baseball betting show, not the Philadelphia 76ers betting show, or else last year it would have been, don't bet the 76ers. But that said, how do you take a look at this playoff landscape right now? Because I just still can't remember a year in baseball where it's felt so wide open. And every day I take a look and I think, all right, someone's going to separate. At some point, there's going to be a team where it's like, all right, I'm feeling a little bit bullish about them going into the World Series, and every single day it just does not happen.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm the same way as you. Like, I'm trying to figure out, like, all right, who is the team that's going to emerge as, like, all right, we know this team's going to win the AL pennant. We know this team's going to win the NL pennant. And a lot of these teams, while they look good when they're playing well, right? Like, when the Brewers are hot and doing their thing, like, they are pretty unbeatable, right? Same thing with the Phillies, same thing with the Dodgers. Look in the American League, when the Tigers are doing their thing, you know, when the Blue Jays are doing their thing, you're like, they're unstoppable. But none of these teams have that undeniable, like you said, separating quality about themselves. It's almost like if any of these teams go into a slump, or if they catch a hot team in the right time in the playoffs, they could be potentially a quick out. So I think this playoff landscape, even, you know, just where we look at just the NL, AL wildcard races, I don't remember a time where even that was still up in the air. Like, both of these races in the AL, NL wildcard are still up in the air. And a lot of these teams, I think this is what the good part about the third wildcard is, right? A lot of these teams will be playing each other down the stretch. So we will not probably know who's going to have this, you know, last spot in both the NL and the AL for probably until the final week of the regular season.
Yep, and I think the big intrigue is, what in the heck do we make out of the New York Mets right now? Snapped their 8-game losing streak on Sunday thanks to a walk-off home run for Pete Alonso, so perhaps that's exactly what they need, but still, going into Tuesday, they're going to be 1-8 in their last 9 games, and it's not even assured that they're going to be able to get a playoff spot with the way that the Giants have been playing some better baseball recently. Recognize that over the weekend was a little bit rough against the Dodgers, and for the Reds, they had a golden opportunity against the A's that they didn't really take advantage of. But I feel like that last spot in the National League wild card becomes so intriguing because the Mets, they are doing what the Mets have done many, many, many times in the past, and that's a September collapse.
Yeah, it's starting to become very synonymous with this team. And the crazy thing is you wouldn't expect it because you're like, look at all the names that they have offensively, right? They got Alonso, they got Lindor, they got, Soto, they got the Nimos, the Jeff McNeils, the Vientos, right? Like Cedric Mullins at the trade deadline, right? All these names on offense, but for some reason they cannot get it done. And I think where you're probably your main culprit of where you're probably looking at this is probably their pitching rotation, right? We saw Kodai Senga get sent down to the minors, which is never a good thing, especially at this time of the year for a guy of his stature. And the Mets are doing the same thing almost that the Red Sox are doing, but the Red Sox I think are in a better position in terms of just how their season has gone in terms of the Mets, where it's like the Red Sox, they bring in these young guys and it's like, hey, I'm bringing you in, to just help us to keep going. They keep on interjecting life. As for the Mets, it was like, it's almost like pressing a panic button. Like, we got to bring up Nolan McLean. And so far, McLean has looked, outstanding, right? You bring up Jonah Tong. He looked good his first start. He got waxed, in his next start. And then you got Brandon Sprout, who they just called up too. So you're dependent on 3 rookies in your starting rotation down the stretch. That's a lot to carry. And I think for the Mets, if they want to get back into, try to hold on to this thing, obviously your rookies are going to show up. You're going to need David Peterson and Clay Holmes to do your thing, but it's going to come down to this offense. You pay these guys the big bucks, the Alonsos, the Lindors, the Sotos. Like, these are going to be the guys that are going to have to carry you to the finish line, because to ask these rookie pitchers to do it, that's going to be a tough task. And you hope the bullpen, you figure out what's going on with there and Helsley and company. Can they get themselves together in the back end, with Diaz? Like, those things have to get better because, like I said, you don't want to depend on the young arms who have been phenomenal from what we've seen. The glimpses, the futures of this Mets rotation, I think is going to be just incredible. But to depend on them down the stretch, it's going to have to come down to your big name players. Like for all these teams that's in the playoff chase, it comes down to what can your stars do in September and in October.
Yep, it is going to really come down to that, and it is so fascinating to take a look at that aspect of things as well, and how much you just default to managers that have sort of been there, done that, versus these teams with a little bit more inexperience there, because I've been off-put by what I've seen out of the Detroit Tigers recently, but A.J. Hinch is a guy that knows how to be able to win a World Series. If the Rangers somehow, some way weasel their way into the playoffs, Bruce Bochy, there have been few that have done it better in October than him, and those are the teams that really do stand out to me when things are just so equal like they are this year.
Yeah, no, I think that manager experience definitely helps, right? Like you said, with the Rangers and Bruce Bochy. I mean, Greg, when the last time I was on this show, I think the Rangers were nowhere to be seen in this AL.
And just lost Nathan Eovaldi.
Right. And you're thinking, okay, Rangers are just going to pack it in. We'll see what happens next year. Hopefully the injury luck is better. And then all of a sudden, you're right there, not only for the AL wildcard race in the AL for the final AL wildcard spot, but now potentially for the AL West crown. So I think having a guy, like you said, like a Bruce Bochy that's been there before, and having still some of this core from that World Series team, right? Having them, still be on this team that understands and knows how to get it done. That's huge. Like you said, AJ Hinch, he's been through it in this Tigers team. They understand what the playoffs is, knowing that they went through it last year. Same thing. You can even look at the Phillies with Rob Thompson. Like, these guys know what time it is. They know what they know what to do when it's that time. And I think that definitely is going to play a part as we get down into these stretches and into these games, where a lot of these games, like I said, are going to be against each other in these wild card races. And it's going to come down to not only can the players execute their pitches and execute at the plate, but also what are these managers going to do? Can they pull the right string and right chord at the right time when they need to, or will they do the opposite and just throw everything completely off?
Yep, absolutely. And it's such an interesting time right now as Jovan Alford, who does great work over at Total Sports Live and Fansided, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And the reason why things are so interesting is the teams I'm feeling bullish about and the teams I feel like are playing some of the best baseball right now are a lot of those teams that are finding themselves on the outside looking in for the playoffs. Like, a lot of these teams that it looks like they're going to be making the playoffs, I've been a little bit off put by. I recognize that the Blue Jays were able to get a series win over the Baltimore Orioles, Orioles, but I mean, that was an adventurous series to say the least. For the Boston Red Sox, it's been a little bit up, down, all around for them. And now Roman Anthony being out of the fold, that hurts them. The Tigers, they did not look good in their series against Miami as well. The Mariners have actually racked up quite a few wins, but it's been against lesser competition. And then out there in the National League, the Brewers have been up and down all around. For the LA Dodgers, it's been interesting. And the team that I really look at in the National League that I feel like might be able to pick up a little bit of steam, might be able to make that little bit of a playoff push, I still just keep going back to the San Francisco Giants. And if they're able to sneak in, because I know that a lot of people are bullish on the Padres, but what a lot of people aren't talking about is that the Padres have been a bottom 8 offense in the big leagues this year.
Which is incredible, right? Again, given the names that they have on this team, right? You think that the Machados and the Tatises can kind of carry you and do their thing. But when you're not getting as much production as you say from a Luis Arias, right? That kind of hurts, right? I mean, obviously you do have, the Ramon Laureanos, you do have Ryan O'Hearn, I believe you got at the deadline. So you got some guys there, but they're not the consistent boppers and guys that are going to, drive and runs. And like you said, when you look at this Giants team, right, their offense isn't the most incredible offense, right? But they got guys that can do a little bit of everything, right? You got a guy like Willie Adames, right? He's not the best hitting for average, right? He's right now sitting around that 230-ish range, but he has 28 home runs, right? You got a guy in Helio Ramos who's a doubles machine. Jung Ho Lee, doubles machine. And then you got the big bopper himself in Rafael Devers. We know what he can do in the postseason, right? And we've seen what he can do, in this Giants lineup and what he's brought to this team, from an offensive perspective. So if you're the Giants, the goal is, can you just scratch across a few runs, right? Can you get 3-4 runs? Because when you look at the rotation, it's really not bad, right? Logan Webb, who I feel has been consistently underrated as a pitcher, right? I just feel like he just goes about his business and does his thing, and it's just oh, look, here's Logan Webb having just another outstanding season, and it's no one's really talking about him. Then Robbie Ray as your number 2, and then Verlander. What can you get out the wily veteran? I mean, I know his record looks very abhorrent at 3-10, right? But what he's been able to do, especially just this month through his first 2 starts, a .69 ERA. He went 6 against the Cardinals and 7 against the Dodgers last week. I mean, you look at that and you're okay, Verlander, again, a guy like we talk about with the managers, right? Verlander, a guy that's been there before. He knows what it takes in September, October. If you get that guy, if you get him going, and then maybe you can piecemeal to see what you can get from everybody else in that back end. You only need 3 guys. Especially if you're the Giants, you get into that wild card spot. You got your 3 arms that can get you to the dance. It's just going to be, can your offense come with you? Because Robbie Ray, Logan Webb, and if Verlander continues doing what he's doing right now on the mound, those guys are going to keep you in it. It's just going to be, can your offense do it? Almost like the Tigers of last year, right? They had Scoble and a lot of arms, and it was just can the offense just get you 2? Can they just get you 3 runs? And if you can do that, we can kind of hold it down and piecemeal it from there. And I feel that's the same way with this Giants squad.
Yep, and with the San Francisco Giants, if they could just get enough offense like you were talking about, this could be a very dangerous team. And Jovan, a team out there in your neck of the woods might be a little bit dangerous as well. But I feel like a lot of question marks popped up over the weekend with Aaron Nola having yet another bad start against the Kansas City Royals. As we know, Zach Wheeler unfortunately out for the year. So it leads the question, because I do think that one of the teams I'm most bullish about right now is the Philadelphia Phillies. But now Trey Turner's out. You've got Zach Wheeler dealing with injury. And for Aaron Nola, I just don't know if he's pitchable in the postseason. Maybe I'm crazy. I'd probably take Taijuan Walker as your righty over Aaron Nola right now in that rotation, because he's just been that bad this year.
Yeah, Greg, it's funny you say that, because I feel like that's going to be the debate in Philadelphia for the next few weeks. Can you trust Aaron Nola? Because right now you already know Christopher Sanchez is going to be your guy from game 1, right? Now, game 2, do you go with Nola, or do you go with Nola to split up the lefties? Or do you go with a guy like Ranger Suarez, who, has pitched, rather well coming off of a strong outing this past weekend? Do you go with him? And Nola, the thing is, like you said, he hasn't been great. He's shown glimpses of being better. Obviously, his start against the Mets, where the Phillies really needed it, only gave up 3 hits in that game, went 6 strong innings. You love to see it. However, It's just been those big innings. He just has those big innings since he's come back off the IL. His first start against the Nationals, he only went 2 1/3. He gave up 6. He came back the next week against the Nationals again. Only gave up 3. Only gave up 3 runs, 5 hits, went 6, and it's very good. Braves, he did really good again. But then the Brewers gives up 6 runs, and then like you said, against a Royals team, you give up 6, and again a big inning. And I think that's been the thing for Aaron Nola. You start out well, but then he gets into trouble, and then that's when that big inning starts. You can get away with having that big inning in the regular season, but you can't get away from it in the playoffs, because depending on if it's a game 2 or a game 3, that can change the whole direction of the series. Because if I have to pull you early, now I'm dipping into my bullpen. And granted, depending on how the Phillies want to play their rotation, if they hold on to a top 2 seed in the NL, you will be able to set your rotation in NLDS. So maybe you will have the luxury of going with a Taijuan Walker or a Jesus Luzardo to piggyback off of one of these starters, specifically maybe, like you said, Nola, with the way he's been pitching. But it's a little nerve-wracking if you're a Phillies fan right now, because you don't know right now what Aaron Nola you're going to get. And I think you kind of hope that Nola that we've seen the last few years in September and October can kind of figure it out and get it into high gear, because I think a lot of people realize that this Phillies offense right now is really clicking. It's really doing this thing. You're getting output from all across the lineup. It's just going to be, can Nola be that guy? Can he be that guy that you paid him to be based off of what he did in the past, but also what you project him is going to be in the future? No Zach Wheeler, so he has to step up and, be that guy for him.
Yep, absolutely. And that is going to be such a big debate, because I do feel like with the Phillies as well, it's so key what they do here in the next few weeks too, because for the Phillies, I don't think that there's any way that they overtake the Milwaukee Brewers to have the best record out there in the National League, even though they're only a few games back. But I think that you know this as well as I do. For the Philadelphia Phillies, they've been such a different team at home rather than away from home, going into the series against the Dodgers, which we don't know what happened on Monday as of the time of recording. 51-24 at home, 38-37 away from home, averaging 1.25 runs per game more at home. And I feel like if the Brewers, they would be the number 2 seed, they'd be able to overtake a team on the road a little bit better than the Philadelphia Phillies. And I think that they need to be going all out to be able to try to be able to get that number 1 seed right now in these final few games.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. Like you said, when you look at home road splits for some of these teams, it makes sense. But then when you see a dramatic split like what the Phillies have, it just shows, like you said, home field advantage means a lot, and what they're able to do in this park and how they are, as we saw this past weekend, against the Royals, but even in that Mets series, how they were able to just put big innings together in that ballpark. And they know when that crowd gets behind them, they will just start rolling. The question is, can you get it done on the road? And granted, right, we saw them earlier this month take 2 out of 3 in Milwaukee, and I thought that was a huge confidence booster for them, Greg. I mean, based off of what we saw from them late last month against the Mets in New York, which has been a house of horrors for this team, to see them bounce back and then go into Milwaukee and take 2 out of 3 in some close games. I think that was a huge confidence, booster for them. But again, it's going to, like you said, your goal is, can you finish regular season out strong? Obviously you're going to win this division, but now the goal is, can you obtain that number 1 seed? Can you try to play catch up? You got that 6-game road trip against the Dodgers and against the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks are somehow, some way in this NL wild card race too now. So you're going against a Diamondbacks team that's hungry, that's going to push you, that's going to try to keep their season alive and do their thing. So you got to take care of business on the road, especially with these final couple road trips that you do have in road series, and then take care of business at home. You do those things and let things play out, and let things, play out, and let's see how things play out. But like you said, home field advantage is definitely important for this team. We've seen it the last few years in the playoffs. It's helped them. It's given them an energy. It's given them a boost. The Mets series, even though they lost, they played well at home. The year before that, obviously the NLCS didn't go well against the Diamondbacks, but against that Braves team, that home crowd helped them. Same thing in 22, that home crowd against the Braves, against the Marlins in 23, the Braves in 22, and then the Padres in the NLCS playing at home. It's just synonymous with them. So you got to get it done. This might be the last chance for a lot of this core together as we see currently constructed. So the pressure is on for these guys to go out and show, improve, and do their thing.
Oh, there's no question about it. There is going to be a lot of pressure on them, but the pressure on this podcast it is off when you're aboard, Jovan, because you do such an amazing job taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know you're doing a great job on the football side of things as well. You're doing your best with regards to taking a look at the Philadelphia 76ers as well, which obviously that's an adventure, and we salute you for your service there. But let the good people at home know it's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, for sure, Greg. Always appreciate you having me on as always. Again, people can, follow me on Twitter at Jovan10. I think it's the same thing. On Blue Sky, you can follow me. You can also follow the podcast at Total Sports Live. Check it out on all your streaming platforms, totalsportslive.com. Also, YouTube page, just search my name. I think it's Jovan Alford on YouTube. Been uploading some of the pods on YouTube where I've been giving out some best bets for NFL season. So hopefully I'll be keeping that in rotation for everybody if you're looking for some player prop bets as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And then eventually we probably will be diving into some baseball props too, especially with the playoffs coming up, and markets a little bit more succinct and easier to follow than jumping around the board. So that's pretty much everything I got going on for right now. But again, appreciate you always for having me.
It's always great to be able to get Jovan aboard. He's doing such an incredible job taking a look at this great game of baseball, and every single time he joins me on such great insights. So big thanks to Jovan for joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
Next Level Pet people will do anything for their dogs. That means treating them with next level protection from parasites with NexGard Plus, afoxolaner, moxidectin, and parental chewable tablets. NexGard Plus chews provide one and done monthly protection against fleas, ticks, heartworm disease, roundworms, and hookworms, all in a tasty beef-flavored chew. Use with caution in dogs with a history of seizures or neurologic disorders. Dogs should be tested for existing heartworm infection prior to starting a preventive. Ask your vet about NexGard Plus chews.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by Jovan Alford. He does great work over at Total Sports Live and Fansided. Every single time he joins me, lends such great insights. Did so once again today. So a big thanks to Jovan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Tuesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81, and we are going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. The lone exception is we do have a doubleheader on the board, and boy, oh boy, things are murky with this Atlanta Braves versus Washington Nationals doubleheader. So I do have the spreadsheet link in the description wherever you're getting this podcast. I always post up my handicaps on my Twitter/X feed at @GUnit_81. You might want to be following along there because we are going to be starting with that double dip 951, 952, and 953, 954 on the board where there's a lot of TBD with regards to this one. As for the Atlanta Braves, in terms of game number one, it is to be determined, and it is looking like Jake Irvin is going to be getting the start for the Washington Nationals. And then game number two, we do know that it's going to be Chris Sale for the Braves, and it looks like it's going to be Mackenzie Gore going for the Washington Nationals. No numbers up on either of these games, but we'll go with game one first, where I think that Dane Dunning will probably be factoring in for the Braves in some form or capacity. We shall see there, but assuming that's sort of like a piecemeal game with Dane Dunning contributing in some way, I set the Braves at a -124 on the money line, so willing to lay up to a -123 there, plus 125 or better looking at the Nationals, and then made a total 9.2, 9 or less. I'm going to be in on the over 9.5 or higher. The under. It has just been a miserable year for Jake Irvin, to say the least. As for Irvin, he's right now rocking a 5.70 ERA. He's getting only 6 strikeouts per 9 innings while giving up 1.8 home runs, 3.2 walks per 9 innings. Last time he gave up less than 3 runs in a start, it feels like it was about an eon ago because you have to go all the way back to the end of July. Like, man, it has not been great. As a matter of fact, he has given up 3+ runs in all but 2 out of his last 14 starts. So he has really been giving it up here. And then if you do have Dane Dunning in some form or capacity, I mean, the guy was a solid starter many years ago for the White Sox. He had some good moments with the Texas Rangers this year. It's just been absolutely atrocious since he got to Atlanta in the 6 appearances that he's made, albeit it's only been 9 innings. He has given up 11 earned runs, 12 in total, so that has been a big giant issue. Should be doing for a lot of positivity, as he's also gotten 10 strikeouts in those 9 innings, and he does get to go up against a Washington Nationals team that has been much less effective with their offense when they've been at home rather than when they've been away from home. For the Washington Nationals, averaging about 4.6 runs per game when they're away from home, closer to about 4 runs per game at home, as C.J. Abrams, 17 home runs, hitting at .262, but all but 3 of those home runs have come on the road. Got Josh Bell hitting well above a .250 ever since July 1st. He's up to 20 home runs. James Wood, 27 bombs, 355 on base, but the young guys, other than Dalen Lyle, who's been very rock solid, he's been able to about a .285 for the team, just have not been able to step up. The likes of a Dylan Cruz, Andres Shapiro, Robert Hassel, Brady House, all these guys are posting up an on-base percentage that is below a 300 with really not a lot of power. And for the Washington Nationals, this is the dead last bullpen in terms of ERA in the big leagues, albeit they've been a little bit better over the last few weeks, but still so many guys in this bullpen posting up an ERA above a 5. You've got Jackson Rutledge, Connor Pilkington, Orlando Robalta, Shinkuski Ogasawara, Mason Thompson. It's been rough, and for the Atlanta Braves, it's not like this team has been impressive with their bullpen either. Bottom half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA since July 1st, as well as Mauricio Iglesias has been better recently, but still a lost season for he and Aaron Mummer, both posting up a .350 ERA or higher. The Dodd-father, Dylan Dodd, will probably be contributing a little bit as well. He's been utilized a bit as a long guy. About a .325 ERA, former starter. He's been solid. And Pierce Johnson, about a .230 ERA. The best thing in this game is the Atlanta Braves offense. You've got Matt Olson up to 25 home runs, 370 on base. Team has been in the top 10 in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. The shortstop spot has been an issue for the team, but Jurickson Profar, 360 on base. He's been able to get a home run every about 20 or so at bats. That's been solid. You've got Ozzie Albies, who's been giving you a little bit more pop recently. He and Michael Harris, 16 and 17 home runs apiece, but for Harris, that atrocious 258 on base has been absolutely killing him. So it is a total where a 9 or less. I'm in on the over 9.5 or higher, the under, and for the Braves, willing to lay up to a -123 on that money line, plus 125 or better. Looking at the Nationals, and then in terms of Chris Sale versus Mackenzie Gore, set a total to where an 8 or less. I'm in on the over 8.5 or higher to the under, and I'd be willing to lay up to a -157 on the Braves money line. Pretty much any sort of plus money, I'd be looking at their run line, plus 159 or better. We'll be looking at the Washington Nationals. For Mackenzie Gore, he's just coming off the injured list and just does not look like himself in his first few starts since he's been back in. Really, his first start coming off the injured list, gave up 2 runs over the course of 5 innings, but only had 4 strikeouts and has had 5 strikeouts or fewer in each out of his last 3 starts. So that's a little bit of an issue for you. He's got a 4.14 ERA now, a 3.67 fielding dependent, so he should be doing for a little bit of positivity. Hasn't been giving up overly much of the deep ball, and for Mackenzie Gore, what has really been killing him is that he just has not been good at home. 4.73 ERA at home. He's been giving up about 1.3 to 1.4 runs per 9 innings at home. Meanwhile, for Chris Sale, since he's come off the injured list, he has been very, very good for this team. Overall for the season, 2.52 ERA, nearly 12 strikeouts to 2.4 walks per 9 innings in his 3 starts since coming off the injured list. A combined 5 runs allowed, going 5+ innings in all of these starts. So you do really like to see that, and for the Braves, I do think that as a result, they should be a demonstrative favorite. Willing to take any sort of plus money on that run line with the Braves. Plus 159 or better, looking at the Nats, and then 8 or less to the over 8.5 or higher, the under. 953, 954 on the card. The Cubs are on the road. They're facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates as Paul Skeens goes for the Buccos. Cade Horton, here's a who is on the bump for the Cubs, and the total of 7. Over and under, anywhere between -105 to -115, -130 to -132 is that number on Pittsburgh, plus 108 to plus 110 is that number on the Cubs. I'm actually going to be willing to take a shot on the over. Just set my total at a 7.1, so I'm going to be willing to dive in there. For Cade Horton, it has been an absolutely remarkable run. How about 5 runs allowed over the course of his last 10 starts? I do believe that he's doing for a little bit of regression, though. Let's call it what it is. 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, a 270 ERA, but a 363 fielding dependent. Has really not given up the deep ball, fewer than 0.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and he doesn't get to go up against the Pirates team that has been dead last in the big leagues in terms of both run creation and in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. When it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates, you've only got 3 guys on the roster who have been able to give you 10+ home runs thus far this season. Oneil Cruz, Andrew McCutchen, and Brian Reynolds, and Cruz is full of just a list of guys that are below a 220 for the team. he, Alexander Canario, Emmanuel Valdez, Henry Davis, Cam Devaney. You just go down the list of guys not doing anything for you. That's been rough. And then have had Nick Gonzalez hit a 275 for the team. That's all. And Tommy Pham here in the second half of the season has been a bit better as well. For the Pirates, it is a bullpen that has been a little bit hot and cold. You've got a pair of guys that have really locked it down, and Isaac Madsen, Dennis Santana. They both have been able to give you about a 2.25 ERA, but outside of those two guys, Dory Moretta is right around a 3.75. Evan Sisk has not necessarily been super effective. You've gotten some really bad innings out of Colin Holderman, and for the Chicago Cubs, this is the unit that has the better bullpen in my opinion. You still have so many guys that have been able to come in there, be rock solid. Now, they are without Daniel Palencia. He hits the injured list, but you have the likes of Drew Pomeranz, Caleb Theobar, Brad Keller, who have all been able to give you a 2.25 ERA or better. Andrew Kittredge, since he's come over, he's been pretty rock solid for the Cubs. This has been a bottom 8 lineup in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break, but they're still a top 10 team overall this season in terms of run scoring. Seiya Suzuki and Pico Armstrong have been stuck on 27 and 28 home runs respectively for the longest of time, but still, you've got Nico Horner, who ever since the All-Star break has been hitting above a 325. Ian Happ, 380 on base with 10 home runs since the break. You've been able to have Matt Shaw step up 9 home runs and 150 at-bats since the break. He's been hitting above 255, so a lot of the lesser guys have been able to step up for this team. A lot of the star guys have been really flailing, and Kyle Tucker being on the injury list hurts his team a little bit. Obviously, Paul Skeens has been amazing. A strikeout to walk ratio of 5.21. He's posting up a sub-2 ERA, giving up a half home run per 9 innings in his 30 starts this year. 2 earned runs or fewer allowed in 25 of them, but I do think that the Cubs get to him a little bit. Would not be surprised if the Pirates try to limit his innings just a little bit, because he pretty much has the Cy Young Award in the bank, and I do think that the Cubs are able to get into that bullpen. Somebody told 7.1, I like the over, and with the Cubs plus 107 or better, I'm looking at the money line. 955, 956 was a part of that Braves versus Nationals double dip, so we go 957, 958. The San Diego Padres are on the road facing off against the New York Mets, as Mr. Clay Holmes is on the bump for the Mets, and the King, Michael King, is on the bump for San Diego. Well, to pick 'em game, anywhere between minus 105 to minus 110 is the number on both of these money lines, and your total is 8.5, unders minus 115, overs minus 105. Seeing one straight 8 with the over and the under both at minus 110, but I set my total at a 7.6. I'm going to be willing to dive in on the under for the New York Mets. The offense has been able to get going a little bit more. That Pete Alonso walk-off home run on Sunday, you have to think, is going to be able to help pile drive this team just a little bit more. And the top of the lineup for the Mets has been rock solid all season long, but now you've got Mark Vientos sitting above a 240. He's been able to give you 15 home runs. Brett Beatty's up to 16 bombs. He's been hitting at 250. Starling Marte is moving line. So these are good signs for the team. Then you've got your core 4 and Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Juan Soto, all with at least 23 home runs, all in at least a 260. As a matter of fact, all 4 guys between a 261 to a 266 average, with Alonso 342 on base, Soto just below a 400 on base. The trepidation that you do have with the New York Mets, this has been a bullpen that has been shaky, to say the least, all season long. As for Ryan Elsley, he has come in and he has been absolutely awful for this team. He has been posting up an ERA that is well above a 5 for this team. And then Gregory Soto, he's starting to poop the bed as well. It's been a case where Brooks Raley has been rock solid. He's maybe give you about a 2.75 ERA, and then obviously Edwin Diaz has been a rock solid closer, even though sometimes it gets a little bit adventurous with him. And on the other end for the San Diego Padres, this is a unit that is towards the top of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. As a matter of fact, they are still maintaining that number 1 spot with regards to their bullpen ERA. Mason Miller, Andre Morahone, David Morgan have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Robert Suarez can sometimes be a little bit up and down, but he's been rock solid. Jeremiah Estrada has been having a few issues, but overall, it is a pretty solid bullpen. And for the San Diego Padres, the big thing is Michael King. What are you going to be able to get out of him? This is start number 2 for him coming off the injury list. First start out, gave up 2 solo home runs against the Cincinnati Reds. Gave up 2 runs in 5 innings, but getting only 2 strikeouts in that start, that is a little bit concerning, as he's a little bit more of a power pitcher. Overall for the season, he has been able to get right in that neighborhood, about 10 strikeouts per 9 innings, and he's a guy that is going to give up a few free passes, right around about 2.8, 2.9 walks per 9 innings. But for Michael King, he was actually born and raised out there in New York, has a 3.63 road ERA thus far this season, and I do think that he delivers a relatively solid start, but Clay Holmes has been very good in terms of not giving up a lot of hard contact as well. When it comes to Clay Holmes, he's not necessarily a strikeout pitcher. He's only been able to get in that neighborhood about 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings and a little bit north of 3 walks per 9 innings. You do have to be just a skosh bit concerned about that, but 3.75 ERA with 0.7 home runs allowed per 9 innings. He has given up 3+ runs in each out of his last 3 starts, but for Holmes, with the way that he's able to keep things out in front of him and the way that he's supported by this lineup, I do think that he should be a slight favorite, mainly because for the Padres, this has been a surprisingly not great offense as far this season. They're in the bottom 5 of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, and 21st in the big leagues in terms of overall run scoring. On the road, they've been averaging about 4.2 runs per game, and in the National League, that is third worst to only the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Colorado Rockies. Now, you've got the big names. Fernando Tatis Jr. He's been able to give you 20+ home runs. He's right around about a 350 on base. You've had Manny Machado be able to supply 23 home runs. He's hitting the neighborhood of about a 270 to 275. And Urban Laureano, Ryan O'Hearn were good pickups from the Baltimore Orioles, with O'Hearn not a ton of power, but he's been able to give you about a 350 or so on base, 15 home runs. Laureano, 20+ home runs. He has been rock solid, hitting darn near 300. And then you've had Jake Cronenworth give you about a 365 on base. The catcher spot with Freddie Fermin has been solid. And Luis Reyes, he's hitting like a 285. Again, not bad, but you expect a little bit more from Luis Reyes. So, with the New York Mets, I did set him here as a very slight favorite at a -109, so went away up to a -108 there, and did set a low total of a 7.6. Even though with Michael King, he has been a little bit banged up, I think that start number 2 coming off the injury list, he finds his form, and with being backed up by that bullpen, I do like the under to go along with the Mets up to a -108 on that money line. 959, 960 on the card. The Reds are on the road against the Cardinals as Michael McGreevy is on the bump for the Cards, and Andrew Abbott goes for the Reds. The Reds do find themselves as a slim favorite here, and between -108 to a -115, -105 to a -108 is that number on the Cardinals. So close to a pick'em. Total on this game, it is an 8. The over and the under are anywhere between -105 to a -115, and with the Reds, I am willing to go up to a -110 with them, so I'm going to be looking at them on the money line. It's a very interesting ordeal because with the Cincinnati Reds, it's been a little bit up and down with them this far this season, but with Andrew Abbott, he's been able to do a nice job of holding it down. Now, the issue with Andrew Abbott is that he's not necessarily too much of a strikeout pitcher, so he's doing perhaps for a little bit of regression, but he's just gone out there time and time again and has gotten the job done. I think that he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in pretty much all but 7 of his starts this far this season. Has been a register overall for the campaign, a 2.79 ERA. Now that fielding dependent is more around about a 3.70, but when you're giving up 2 runs or fewer in 19 out of your 26 starts, you're doing a relatively good job there. He does get to face off against a Cardinals team too that they are right now dead last in the National League in terms of run scoring ever since the All-Star break. Wilson Contreras continues to give you 20 home runs. He's been solid, but the young guys just have not been able to step up for this team. You got the likes of Nolan Gorman, Nathan Church, Jordan Walker, Victor Scott, all hitting at 230 or lower. Avon Herrera has been rock solid, hitting at 285 with 16 home runs. Alec Burleson is up to 17 bombs, and he and Brendan Donovan both hitting that neighborhood of a 280. And since coming off the injury list, Lars Nootbaar, not really any sort of power whatsoever, but he's been able to move the line. He's giving you north of a 325 on base. They do now get Nolan Arenado back, but when Arenado's been out there on the field, he really hasn't done a whole heck of a lot for this team. And for the Cardinals, their biggest strength is actually going to be in their bullpen. For the Cardinals, you've got a lot of guys like Matt Svanson, John King, Kyle Leahy, JoJo Romero, Riley O'Brien, who have just all gone out there and done their job. Other than King, all these guys have given you a sub 325 ERA. King is up to a 5 ERA. That's been a little bit of an issue. And then for the Cincinnati Reds, it's a bullpen that's very mid, I think is the best way of being able to put it. They've dealt with injuries to Graham Ashcraft, the long guy all season long, but he's back. He, Brent Suter are both hovering in that neighborhood of like a 375 to a 4 ERA. Scott Barlow has seen an ERA go north of a 4, but part of that was that terrible start that he gave, and when he's actually been a reliever, he's been a little bit better. Tony Santillan and Emilio Pagan, both of these guys are giving you a sub 340 ERA, though Pagan does give up quite a few home runs. And for the Reds, not really a home run hitting team. Everyone has 19 home runs or fewer on this team. Zelly De La Cruz has been stuck on 19 home runs for an eon, but you do have a lot of guys that they just find a way to hit like a 260 to a 267. You've got who I mentioned before in De La Cruz, along Cabrian Hayes in a Reds uniform and a Reds uniform only. Austin Hayes, Gavin Lux, TJ Friedel, all there. And for Lux, 350 on base, Friedel, 365 on base, and then Novoy Marte, 13 home runs, hitting at 275. I mean, it's just a whole lot of solid with the Reds. And I do think that Abbott gives a little bit of a better start here than Michael McGreevy. And to the credit of Michael McGreevy, he's done a nice job this year in terms of not beating himself. He just has absolutely no deception whatsoever. For McGreevy, 4.44 ERA, feeling penalty more than neighborhood of a 3.84, as he's given up 0.9 home runs, 1.4 walks per 9 innings, but he has only gotten 5.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. So, interesting circumstance here. I did set my total at an 8.2, so at an 8, I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over. And for the Reds, I'm willing to go up to a minus 109 on that money line. 961, 962 on the card. It is the Miami Marlins. They are on the road against the Colorado Rockies. Kyle Freeland is on the bump for the Rocks, and Yuri Perez is on the bump for Miami. Miami is a minus 142, a minus 146 favorite, plus 118 to a plus 124 is that number on Colorado. 10 to 10.5 is the total on the 10.5. Under is minus 130, and the over is plus 110. I think we're going to see a lot more of these 10s, where the over and the under are both at minus 110, and I would be willing to take a shot on the over. I did set my total at an 11.2, and it is getting a little bit cooler out there in Colorado. We're in the middle of September, so the run scoring does start to go downward, and sometimes you just see some funky bunch of weather out there in Colorado. And for Yuri Perez, he has been remarkably worse on the road than he has been at home. A 4.67 ERA overall. He's given up 1.2 home runs, 3.1 walks per 9 innings, a 4.11 field independent, so should be doing for a little bit of positivity there. He's just on a rough run, for lack of a better term. He has given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and most of his struggles have come on the road. 2.63 home ERA, 0 home runs allowed in 37 and 2/3 innings at home, 43 and a third innings on the road with 11 home runs allowed. That's about 2.2 home runs per 9 innings, 6.44 ERA. And Kyle Freeland, he's just pitching to too much contact. For Freeland, it's not like he has bad command or anything like that. His walks per 9 rate is right around 2.2. 1.3 home runs per 9 innings isn't great, but it's not like outlandish or anything like that. But he's posting up a 4.97 ERA because he just gets hit around. Now, to the credit of Kyle Freeland, in terms of earned runs, he has given up a combined 3 in his last 3 starts. He was victim of 3 unearned runs in his last start against the LA Dodgers, but much like many of the guys for this Colorado Rockies team, just has a tough time pitching out there at Coors Field, even though he was born and raised in the great state of Colorado. 5.82 home ERA, and when it comes to Colorado Rockies, second worst in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Victor Vodnik and Jimmy Harrigan have been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA, and Jaden Hill has not been terrible in this bullpen, but then you get the guys like Nick Anderson, Anel Shavili, you're able to throw in there Ryan Rollison. When he's been out there, Zach Ogden, who's dealt with injury. A lot of guys are posting up above a 5 ERA. Anthony Molina. And for the Colorado Rockies, obviously a team that hits much better at home rather than on the road. Aside from Hunter Goodman, who's been giving you 30 home runs this year, only 13 of them have come at home. Brenton Doyle, Mickey Moniak, though, these two guys have given you a combined 22 home runs at home. Both are hitting above a 300. Jordan Beck at home has been able to about a 300. Now, Kyle Farmer only hits a 200 at home. Michael Taglia has not hit anywhere thus far this season. You've had Orlando Arcia be a big giant flop, so these guys have been an issue. And for the Miami Marlins, this has actually been one of your best teams in terms of road run production in all of baseball. Miami is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, so that dwarfs a lot of their offense, but for Miami, they're actually 5th in the league in terms of run production away from home at about 4.8 runs per game, albeit this is a little bit of a banged-up unit. They are currently without Kyle Sowers, who's been able to supply 25 home runs thus far this season. Augustin Ramirez, he still gives you 19 home runs, but less than a 290 on base, so you're going to need him to be a little bit more consistent with that regard. But Xavier Edwards at the top has been able to do a nice job moving the line. He's been able to for about a 280, has dealt with a little bit of a wrist issue, so want to be noting that. Liam Hicks, though, has been able to give you about a 340 on base. You've had Dane Myers really struggle with regards to his average, but when he's been out there, Roberto Hernandez, along Connor Norby, have been rock solid. Norby dealing with an injury once again, but Hernandez 335 on base, and then you've been able to get a lot of production recently out of Otto Lopez, who's been able to give you 14 home runs, giving you about a 250 average. And for the Marlins, this bullpen since the beginning of the month of June, right around about league average. It feels like it just comes and goes. They're either really, really good or they're really, really awful, like Lake Bakar, Valentin Belozo, up to north of a 385 ERA. Calvin Fauché has been a little bit over the place, but down to now about a 340 ERA. They had to put Franny Tarnock on the injured list, but Ronnie Enriquez, Cade Gibson, Tyler Phillips, these have been guys that have been able to give you a sub 335 ERA. And for the Miami Marlins. I do think that they do enough to be able to win this game by multiple runs, and I think that they get to Kyle Freeland and the bullpen. I set my total at 11.2. I like the over, and I do like the Marlins on the run line. I set their run line price at a minus 121. Right now, if you're looking to lay a run half, you're going to be able to get that at a plus 105, so sign me up there and sign me up for the over. 963, 964 on the card. It is the Giants on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for Arizona. CBS was listing Carson Seymour as a starter. Right now, this is off the board on the betting board, and Carson Seymour pitched in relief over the weekend for the San Francisco Giants, so I pretty much have this labeled as bullpen game. I could see Carson Seymour contributing a few innings, so I sort of have him in the equation, but as a guy that just sees a few innings, and for the Diamondbacks, if this is indeed the case, I set the Diamondbacks at a minus 122 on the money line, want to go up to a minus 121 there, plus 123 or better, looking at the Giants, and then 9 or less, I'm in on the over 9.5 or the under. Now, the good news for the San Francisco Giants is that they've got one of the best bullpens in the big leagues, even though they did get lit up a little bit over the weekend by the LA Dodgers, because a lot of teams get lit up by the LA Dodgers. 340 bullpen ERA, that is number 2 in all baseball, and a lot of these guys are able to go for multiple innings. Now, Spencer Bivens overall for the season has above a 375 ERA, but he has been much better recently. He just had a toilet bowl effort in June and July. He's been able to bounce back, but you've got someone like Joey Lucchesi, who's a former starter. Jose Buto has seen some starts before. Both of these guys have done a pretty rock solid job in the bullpen, with Lucchesi down to about a 294 ERA. We have seen some ups and downs all season long from Jose Buto, who's now got a north of 4 ERA, but I do think that he's going to be all bounced back. Matt Gage, ever since I picked him up as a 375 ERA, and if you do indeed get Carson Seymour, he's primarily pitched out of the bullpen. Out of his 14 appearances, all but 3 of them have come out of the pen. 534 ERA, he's not getting a lot of strikeouts, so that's a little bit of an issue, but I do think that he's going to be able to do an okay job against the Diamondbacks team that, albeit they're in the top 10 in terms of run scoring, but obviously they're not the same ever since the trade deadline, just like the Giants bullpen, with losing the likes of Tyler Rogers, losing Camilo Doval. They're not the same either, because when you trade away Eugenio Suarez along Josh Taylor, that reverses things, and right now they're relying upon Blaze Alexander, who's been able to give them about a 330 on base for a big time production. Now, Geraldo Perdomo, coupled with as well Ketel Marte, have both been able to give you north of a 375 on base, and for Marte, 25 home runs have been rock solid. You've got Corbin Carroll, who's been able to supply the boom. He's up to 30 home runs. He's done a nice job of being able to give this team right around about a 255. Lourdes Gurriel up to 19 home runs. Not a ton of on base, but he's been able to about a 250 as well. And then Gabriel Moreno coming off the injury list, giving the team a 350 on base. That has been nice and stabilizing as well. And for the San Francisco Giants, it's a team that is much better away from home rather than at home. Goes without saying, because it's one of the most pitcher-friendly ballparks out there in all of baseball in San Francisco. About 4.1 runs per game at home compared to 4.65 runs per game away from home. And Rafael Devers has had a cold last few days, but overall, since the All-Star break, he's really been able to get back online. He's been supplying 353 on base with 16 home runs since coming on over to San Francisco. Eloy Ramos is updating about a 260 with 17 home runs. Matt Chapman, not the world's greatest average at a 241, but 351 on base, 21 home runs. Wilmer Flores has been able to give you 15 bombs. He's been a little bit up and down, and I know that he's dealt with a little bit of ailment as well, but so you've got Jung-Ho Lee, who's been able to move the line. Willie Adames, 28 home runs. Brahm has been the batting average at a 232. So with the San Francisco Giants, I do think that they give you a relatively solid effort against a guy in Eduardo Rodriguez, who I think positivity is going to be coming for him, but I've been feeling that way all season long, and Eduardo Rodriguez has had a relatively miserable season, posting up a 498 ERA. Feel like you put him more around a 446, so he's still getting about 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but about 1.5 home runs allowed per 9 innings. Last 3 starts, though, he has won a combined 18 in the third innings, and he's allowed 1 run. So certainly things going in the right direction there, including 6 of the third innings scoreless against the Giants. He is so backed up by a bullpen that is still in the bottom 7 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've actually gotten Andrew Selfrank to really give you some good innings too. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA, and John Curtis with 2 S's has not been too bad either. But when you get into likes of a Ryan Thompson, who's dealt with injury all season long, a long guy, Anthony DeSclafani, Kyle Bacchus, Woodford, Jake Woodford, Taylor Rashi, all giving you above a 4.1 ERA. That's a little bit of an issue. So 9 or less on the over, 9.5 or the under. If it is like a bullpen game / Carson Seymour, minus 121 or better, looking at the Diamondbacks money line, plus 123 or better. The Giants, 965, 966 on the card. You've got the Phillies, and they hit the road. They're facing off against the LA Dodgers. Shohei Ohtani is on the bump for the Dodgers. Cadiz Sanchez is is on the bump for the Phils. Phils are a minus 102 team, and you've got the Dodgers at a minus 116. Lone place I'm seeing this is at FanDuel right now. Total on this game is 8. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If we can get the Dodgers at a minus 112, which I do think so, when we get the dime lines out here in Las Vegas, I think that we can get a minus 110. I will be looking at the Dodgers on the money line, as Shohei Ohtani has been a relatively solid pitcher. Has he been like a completely dominant pitcher? No, but if you look at the advanced numbers, he is doing for quite a bit of positivity because he's really not giving up a lot of walks. He's done a nice job in terms of his swing and miss stuff. Overall, he's only pitched 36 innings, so it's still a small sample size, but 12.3 strikeouts to 2 walks per 9 innings, 3.75 ERA, but a 2.17 fielding dependent, as he's only given up 3 home runs this far this season as well. And for Shohei Ohtani, when he has really had his struggles this far this season, much of it has come on the road. Again, small sample size of innings, but 2.25 home ERA, 2.95 ERA on the road. And for Christopher Sanchez, he's been good at home, he's been good on the road, he's just been good in general for the Philadelphia Phillies. How about a 2.57 ERA? He is supplying 9.5 strikeouts at 2.1 walks per 9 innings. He's only given up 10 home runs at 182 in the third innings. That's less than a half home run per 9 innings. Approximately 1 run allowed in each out of his last 3 starts, so a combined 3 runs allowed over his last 20 innings. And for Christopher Sanchez, he's backed up by a bullpen that has been a little bit better recently for the Philadelphia Phillies. Jose Alvarado has come off of the suspended list and has not necessarily been what they were hoping for, but you saw plenty of guys going out there giving you a good effort, as you've got the likes of Ryan Kirkering, Tanner Banks, Matt Strom, who have been able to spy a sub 3.25 ERA, and then Yohan Duran has been one of the nastiest closers out there in all of baseball. Lou Trevino is actually giving you a good effort as well. Problem for the Philadelphia Phillies is that this offense is just not quite the same away from home rather than at home. At home, darn near 5.5 runs per game. That is second best in all of baseball to only, ironically enough, the LA Dodgers. And then on the road, more like 4.24 runs per game. That's actually in the bottom 12 in all of baseball. Kyle Schwarber, though, 52 home runs, 370 on base. He's put the team on his back. You've got Bryce Harper up to 26 bombs, give you about a 355 on base. Having Trey Turner on the injured list, that is a little bit of an issue because he was hitting above a 300, but you've had JT Realmuto move the line, hitting about a 265. You've had Omando Sosa at about a 270 as well, so you've got a lot of guys that have been pretty rock solid, but just not necessarily supplying a lot of boom. And for the LA Dodgers, just so massive that Max Muncy is back out there for this team. They're averaging more than a run and a half per game more when he's in the lineup versus when he's out of the lineup. And Shohei Ohtani, he still hits relatively well when he's pitching as well. 49 bombs, 390 on base, so that's been a nice constant. You've got Teoscar Hernandez, Andy Paz, who've been able to give you 24 home runs apiece, and Paz has been able to put about a 270. Mookie Betts, he's starting to get in line. He was having a really rough start to the season. He's up to 18 home runs, up to a 330 on base. He's looking more like the Mookie that we all know and love. You've had some injury with Will Smith hitting the injured list, so catcher spot with Dalton Rushing, not necessarily great, but I mean, even with being able to get back Sung Kim, who's been able to hit about a 285, he does a nice job with his wheels. That's big. And for the Dodgers, it has been a rough bullpen. They've been right around about league average in terms of bullpen ERA this season, but the reinforcements are back for them, albeit Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates have both supplied over a 3.75 ERA. And as far as the season, with getting those guys back, getting back Blake Trinan, that helps them out. Alex Vesia and Jack Dreher are both healthy as well. Vesia spent a bit of time on the injured list. These two guys, and Edgardo Enriquez, who has come out of nowhere, have been able to give you a sub 2.75 ERA. In the end, I do think that the Dodgers find a way to get the job done, and the Dodgers are averaging about 5.6 to 5.7 runs per game. I think that they get to Sanchez a little bit here, so semi-total an 8.4 and an 8. I like the over, and for the Dodgers, willing to lay up to a minus 111 on that money line. 967, 968 on the card. It is the Guardians on the road against the Detroit Tigers, as Casey Mize goes for Detroit. Joey Cantillo is on the bump for Cleveland. 7.5 to 8 is the total on the 7.5. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. And on the 8, the over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105 as well. Some conflicting numbers out there for the Tigers. They're between minus 138 to minus 150 on the money line. Plus 118 to a plus 123 is that number on Cleveland. Set the Tigers at a minus 146, so I'm willing to go up to a minus 145 on the money line. Casey Mize has just been a steady guy. He's going to do a nice job of not beating himself. Is he going to light the world on fire with his 8 or so strikeouts per 9 innings? No, but 1.3 home runs, 2.2 walks allowed per 9 innings. Pretty similar splits when he's on the road compared to at home, and he gets a face-off against the Guardians team that is 27th in the big leagues in terms of run scoring, and that has been a big giant issue for them, as I know Jose Ramirez is doing his part. Jose Ramirez has supplied about a 350 on base. He's up to 28 home runs, and Steven Kwan at the top, hitting about a 275. Obviously not the world's greatest power hitter, but he's able to give you a little bit of power. And then you've got a lot of guys like Gabriel Arias, Daniel Schneemann, Ano Martinez, who have all been able to give you 10 to 11 home runs, but all three of those guys are in a 230 or lower. And then you've got a lot of other guys that are just not moving the line. CJ Kafis, David Fry, John Kenzie Noel, Austin Hedges. You just go down the list of guys hitting a 215 or lower with really not a lot of power whatsoever, and that's been a big giant issue. Now for the Guardians, this is a top 8 team in terms of bullpen ERA. Even with the struggles of Hunter Gaddis as far this season, and Kate Smith, it's been a little bit up and down the last few weeks as Smith has seen his ERA go to a little bit north of 3. You still have Eric Zabrowski, Kobe Allard, Jacob Junis give you good efforts with a sub-3 ERA, and Allard is able to be a nice long guy along Junis. They have been dealing with an injury to Nick Enright, and for the Tigers, one of their biggest riddles has been this bullpen, as they were really bad in like June and July. They've been able to rectify things a little bit, but Kyle Finnegan hits the injured list. That's not great. They've gotten good production out of Bailey Horn. Bailey Horn, along with Troy Melton, who's been utilized as both a long guy and a starter, Brennan Hennessy. These guys have given you a 3 ERA or better, but Tyler Holton is up to a 4 ERA. Tommy Kahnle has just been terrible for this team, and then they've been mixing and matching from there. But for the Tigers, this team has been averaging 5.1 runs per game at home. That is a top 6 mark in all of baseball, with just so much consistency up and down the boulevard. Any given night, 8 out of the 9 guys could be hitting above a 250 for this team, with pretty much all of them except for Riley Green, Kerry Carpenter, and Spencer Torkelson give you between about 11 to 15 home runs. That's because Torkelson's up to 28 bombs, 332 on base. Carpenter, 25 bombs, hitting about a 255, and then you've had Riley Green, 34 home runs, 265 average, but likes of Zach McKinstry, Wencio Perez, Javi Baez, Gleyber Torres, Jahmai Jones, they're all doing a nice job, move the line, finding a way to be able to get on base, and I do think that they get to a guy in Joey Cantillo who actually comes in really good form, but with Joey Cantillo, he's got a little bit of a Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn thing going on, as for Mr. Cantillo, overall for the season, a 3.36 ERA, and comes in really good form, as for him, he's given up a combined 3 earned runs over his last 4 starts, but the 4.3 walks per 9 innings are an issue. He only gives up about 1 home run and gets 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but I do think that he might knock himself out of the start a little bit early, so I'm going to be in on the Tigers on the money line, set them at a minus 146, and made my total at 8.2, so 7.5 to 8, sign me up on that over. 969, 970 on the card. It is the Athletics on the road against the Boston Red Sox. Jeffrey Springs is on the bump for the A's, and it is Connolly early. He hopes to not be late to the party for the Red Sox, and the Red Sox find themselves on the initial FanDuel opener at a minus 148, plus 126 on the Athletics. 9 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105, and for the Red Sox, set them at a minus 184 on the money line. Pretty much even money or better. I'm willing to take a shot on that run line. Right now, that run line price, you're going to be able to get that at pretty big plus money. I'm right now seeing north of a plus 135, so sign me up there with the Boston Red Sox. They've done a nice job of having a lot of kids come up to the big league level and produce for them right away, and Early is the next of them, as he in his first start looked very rock solid. He pitched 5 innings. He got 11 strikeouts in a shutout performance. He only gave up 1 walk. He looked very good at the minor league level as well. I don't think that was necessarily a fluke. Now, don't know if he's going to get 11 strikeouts every 5 innings, but I mean, when he was down at the minor league level this year, he was getting 11.8 strikeouts at 3.6 walks per 9 innings, not allowing any home runs whatsoever, so highly impressed by him. And for Jeffrey Springs, his strikeout stuff has been way down this far this season. A 4.28 ERA, but a fielding dependent that's a little bit north of that at a 4.73, mainly because his 7.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, way down from his career average of like 9.5. He's been giving up 1.6 home runs, 2.7 walks per 9 innings, and comes in having allowed 3+ runs in 3 out of his last 5 starts. Now with Springs, he's got exactly what a lot of these Sacramento A's pitchers have. In Sacramento, they have really struggled, and on the road, they've been a bit better. For Springs, 5 ERA at home. At home, he's given up darn near 2 home runs per 9 innings. Not that he's been amazing away from home, but more like 1.2 home runs per 9 innings when he has been away from home. Posting up a 3.61 ERA, he is backed up by a bottom 6 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You just have not been able to find a lot of consistency out of side of Michael Kelly and Sean Newcomb. These 2 guys have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA. Elvis Alvarado, he's just a hair below a 4 ERA, but likes of Hogan Harris, Tyler Ferguson, Osvaldo Bido when they've used him out of the bullpen. He's been a mix of a starter and a bullpen piece. Throwing their Grant Holman. A lot of guys are posting up an ERA above a 5 whenever TJ McFarland has been out there, as I think that they DFA'd him, but I mean, he was absolutely awful as they've been trying to mix and match all season long in this bullpen, and it just has not gone their way. way, to say the least. And for the Athletics, what has gone their way is the fact that this team is in the top 7 in the big leagues in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. You've got a quartet of guys with at least 24 home runs, and all of them are hitting at least a 264, as Brent Rooker, along with Nick Kurtz, Shea Langoliers, Tyler Soderstrom, are those guys, and Kurtz has been able to give you a 390 on base with 32 home runs. He has been amazing, and Shea Langoliers has hit for just so much average than he has in the past. Jacob Wilson has been rock solid coming off the injury list, hitting for about a 320. He's actually up to 13 home runs as well. It is a little bit of a top-heavy lineup, though, as a lot of these guys at the bottom, like a Luis Urias, JJ Bleday, Zach Galoff, they just have not been able to give you too much of anything. And for the Red Sox, the issue that you've got with this team is that you don't necessarily have that one guy that's able to carry the offense. Trevor Story has been nice. He's been able to give you 24 home runs, and just have a lot of guys in this Red Sox lineup right now. They're in between, we're going to call it about a 248 to a 265. Nick Sogard, throw in there Carlos Narvaez, ever since he came to Boston, and this is his Boston numbers only. Nathaniel Lowe, Jaron Duran, Trevor Story, they're all in that neighborhood, and you've been able to get good production out of Cedon Rafael with his 16 home runs. Average has been dwindling a little bit, but Rob Refsnyder is hitting a 280. Alex Bregman at 360 on base, albeit not necessarily hitting for the power that you expect, but Roman Anthony going on the injury list, that's been an issue. What has not been an issue for the Red Sox, top 4 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Aroldis Chapman has been the best closer in all baseball, sub 130 ERA. He's given up a few runs, but most of those have been in non-save situations. And then Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, Chris Murphy, Garrett Whitlock, Brendan Bernardino, I'll give you a sub 315 ERA. So I do think that the Red Sox take it to the Athletics. I said my total 9.1. I like the over, and I like the Red Sox at any sort of plus money on the run line. 971, 972 on the card. It is the Blue Jays on the road against the Rays, as Ryan Pepiot goes for the Rays, and Jose Barrios is on the bump for the Blue Jays. Blue Jays between even money to minus 105, minus 115 to minus 118 is that number on Tampa Bay. 8 to 8.5 as the total. On the 8, over is minus 120. The under is even on the 8.5. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with the Blue Jays, I made them the slimmest of slim favorites. I set them at a minus 103 on the money line, so if I'm able to get any sort of even money or better, I'll be looking there. Frankly, the way that I was playing this game was whichever team became the underdog, that's who I was going to be betting, and right now that is the Blue Jays. As for Mr. Jose Barrios, throughout his career, he's always had big-time struggles on the road. This year, he's been able to reverse course, so he's actually been a little bit better when he has been away from home rather than at home. 3.99 ERA overall for the campaign. Would like to see those strikeout numbers get back up a little bit more, as overall for the season, he's getting fewer than 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings. Has been issuing in the neighborhood about 3 walks per 9 innings, but 3.57 road ERA. He's given up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings on the road compared to about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings at home, but a 4.42 home ERA. And for Ryan Pepiot, he's a little bit lucky that the damage has been as limited as it has been. He's been posting up for the season a 3.59 ERA, but closer to about a 4.40 fielding dependent. 1.4 home runs, 3.1 walks allowed per 9 innings, and the swing and miss stuff just has not been amazing for him. It's not been bad, but he's only getting about 8.9 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for Pepiot, he actually comes in a really good run. He has given up 0 runs in each out of his last 3 starts, was limited to 5 innings in all of them, and he got pulled with 1 hit allowed, and 0 hits allowed in his last 3 starts. The Rays are clearly trying to limit the innings of many of their starters, and that leads to a lot of bullpen use. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, the bullpen has some relatively good pieces, like Garrett Clevenger, Pete Fairbanks, Eric Orze. These are guys that are giving you a sub 3.25 ERA. We're probably going to be seeing a little bit more of Joe Rock, who they're planning to use a little bit as a long guy as well. But Mason Englert now hits the injured list. He was a guy that could give you multiple innings. And for the Tampa Bay Rays, they've been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of run creation. Junior Caminero has been great. 44 home runs. He's not really moving the line in terms of getting on base, but he's hitting for 44 home runs, hitting at 262. You'll love that. Yandy Diaz, he's giving you a 350 on base with 24 home runs. Brandon Lau, he's gotten loud, 28 home runs. He's hitting about a 260. And then Jake Magnum and Chandler Simpson, both hit above a 290 with regards to their average. Simpson, 40 stolen bases, 24 out of Magnum. So these guys get into scoring position now. The entirety of the catcher spot and the entirety of the shortstop spot has been an issue for this team, but you've been able to have just a lot of guys in general be able to step up, move the line in general, and you've got a guy in Christopher Morel that you just need a little bit more from. 11 home runs and only about a 290 on base. Flip side for the Toronto Blue Jays, this has been one of your most fearsome offenses in all baseball. Not quite the same away from home rather than at home, but about 5.35 runs per game at home, 4.7 away from home, and they've been in the top 2 in the American League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break, as George Springer has just put the team on his shoulders. He's supplying nearly a 400 on base. He's up to 29 home runs this season. Viager Jr., 397 on base. Not as many home runs as you'd expect at about 23, but still has been very solid there. Bo Bichette has been able to 300. He's up to 18 home runs. Edison Barger has been able to give you 20 bombs. And then Dalton Varsho, he has slowed down a little bit with the power, but he's still giving you a home run every about 11.5 at-bats, 18 bombs, 207 at-bats, only for about a 242 and not giving you a lot of on-base, but for the Blue Jays, the big thing for this team is just being able to get good bullpen pitching. They have been in the bottom 8 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA ever since the All-Star break. As you've got overall for the season guys like Sir Anthony Dominguez, Braden Fisher, Brandon Little, Uriel Rodriguez, who will be able to give you an ERA of a 3.60 or better. But you look at what these guys have done ever since the All-Star break. Pretty much all of these guys have struggled, aside from really Sir Anthony Dominguez, who coming on over from the Baltimore Orioles has supplied about a 3.60 ERA. He's actually been one of your best relievers in that time span. So that's a interesting little bit of tidbit, and I do think that in the end, the Blue Jays should be a very, very slight favorite here. Set them at a -103. So looking at that Jays money line, made my total at 8.7. So 8.5 or less. I'm also in on the over. 973, 974 on the card. The Seattle Mariners are on the road against the Kansas City Royals. Michael Wacha, and if he has a bad start, it's the dying Pac-Man voice of Michael Waka 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 Waka. He goes for the Royals, and Logan Gilbert goes for Seattle. Seattle is a favorite of between -135 to -137, +112 to +116 is that number on Kansas City, with a total between 8 and 8.5. On the 8, over is -120, the under is even. 8.5, the total has juice to a -115 on the under. The over is even money, and when it comes to the Kansas City Royals, I actually set them as the -113 favorite. I like them on the money line, mainly because Michael Wacha has done such a great job of not beating himself thus far this season. 3.45 ERA, despite only getting about 6.6 strikeouts per 9 innings, and the fielding dependence is right in line with that as well, because he's given up 0.7 home runs, 2.3 walks per 9 innings, and that ERA actually dips to a 2.92 when he's at home. Meanwhile, you've got on the flip side a guy in Logan Gilbert who's been a strikeout artist, 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, gives up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings. You'd like to see that be a little bit lower, but it's not atrocious. But that said, on the road, he has had big-time struggles, 5.29 ERA, 1.8 home runs allowed per 9 innings, and this is a lineup in the Seattle Mariners that has really been able to excel when they've been away from home, mainly because Seattle is such a pitcher-friendly ballpark that it does cause for this team to have some pretty big home and road splits. With Seattle, they're averaging about 4.35 runs per game at home, a little bit over 5 runs per game away from home. Big dumper Cal Raleigh, he has been absolutely amazing. Still in line perhaps for a 60 home run season if he's able to really get in gear here in the next few weeks. As for Raleigh, 54 home runs, about a 360 on base, and Eugenio Suarez, he's up to about 43 home runs, but since coming on over to the team, it's been hitting a $170, so you need a little bit more there. They are a little bit of an all-or-nothing lineup, though. Jorge Polanco is now hitting at 265, J.P. Crawford and Julio Rodriguez are in that neighborhood as well, with Crawford 354 on base, and Julio Rodriguez, he's up to 30 home runs. Randy Arozarena, 340 on base with 27 bombs as well, so these guys have been able to do a rock-solid job. And Tom Ganzone has been one of your guys in terms of finding a way on base, about a 350 on base, and on the other end, it is a Kansas City Royals team that continues to be in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of run creation, as Kansas City has just played really pitcher-friendly thus far this season. With Kauffman Stadium, it's always been a little bit of a fickle fiend, up, down, all around, and the Royals, 3.5 runs per game is actually dead last in the big leagues in terms of run creation at home, but they've been much better ever since the All-Star break. You've got Vinny Pasquantino is up to 30-plus home runs. He has been a really nice cog for the team, being able to supply over 100 RBI as well. Miguel Garcia under the radar, 355 on base, 23 stolen bases, 16 home runs. Bobby Witt Jr., 22 bombs, 350 on base. And Salvador Perez, he continues to give you power with 28 home runs, just hitting for a 278 on base. So, and then some of these guys at the bottom, like Michael Massey, Jack Caglione, when he's been out there, Nick Lofton, these guys hitting a 225 or lower have been a little bit of an issue. So becomes an interesting circumstance here with the Royals. I do think that their bullpen is able to power them to victory, as both of these teams have really good top ends of the bullpen. Like with the Seattle Mariners, you've got Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, Gabe Spire, Edward Bizardo will be able to give you a sub-3 ERA. And then for the Royals, Lucas Suarez, Carlos Estevez has been such a really good 1-2 punch. Both give you a sub-260 ERA, but Daniel Lynch has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. You've all of a sudden been able to get some good production out of Taylor Clark as well. So did set the Royals at a -113 on the money line. I'm going to be willing to lay it in. I did set my total here at an 8.4, so seeing the 8.5s out there, I'm in on the under. I would rather have an 8.5 under rather than an 8 over. 975, 976 on the card. It is the White Sox. They play out the Baltimore Orioles. As of right now, the Orioles have to be determined listed as their starter, and Shane Smith goes for the White Sox, so this game is off the board. It's looking like it should be Tyler Wells for the Orioles, and if it is Wells, well, to play Wells for him, as I did set the Orioles at a minus 126 on the money line, would be willing to go up to a minus 125 there, plus 127 or better. Looking at the White Sox, and it's a total to where a 8 or less. I'd be in on the over, 8.5 or higher. The under, I did set my total at an 8.3. With the Orioles, it is a little bit of a mystery, as they've had a lot of guys be all sorts of banged up this far this season, so that's why they've got things a little bit out of whack. And if this is indeed a start for Tyler Wells, this would be, I believe now, start number 3 of the season from he was dealing with a whole bunch of injury, and in his first 2 starts, he's been relatively rock solid. He's given up 3 earned runs, he's been able to keep things out in front of him, not giving up a lot of walks. For Wells, when he was really firing all cylinders, when he was actually healthy, he was able to get a lot of strikeouts in like 2022, 2023, but we shall see where he's at now. He had a propensity early on during his career to give up the home run ball in his first 2 starts. He did give up a home run apiece, and this would be his time through the order. Last time he pitched was on the 10th of September, but as we know with the Orioles, they're looking more to 2026 than anything else, and that's why you've got a lineup that has a whole bunch of young guys out there, and it's just been a banged-up team as well. Jordan Westburg currently being on the injury list, Adley Rushman, you're dealing with a whole bunch of guys that you typically know and love, and they're just not out there, but you got Jackson Holiday supplying 17 home runs, hitting about a 255. Gunnar Anderson, 16 bombs, he's hitting about a 270. You've had a lot of struggles in this lineup. Kobe Mayo, Samuel Basallo, Colton Cowser, Tyler O'Neill. They all started yesterday, and all these guys ring at 210 or lower, albeit Cowser has been able to give you a little bit of home run production, but it's been an issue. But Dylan Beavers has been able to give you darn near 4-arm base. Jeremiah Jackson has been a little bit cold over the last week and a half, but still hitting about a 285. And then for the White Sox, this has been a top 8 offense in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Lennon Sosa, 20 bombs, hitting at 265 has been solid. These guys really don't strike out. Now, you don't have a ton of power. You've got Colson Montgomery up to 18 home runs. Andrew Benintendi, he's up to 19. Benintendi's hitting a 240, and for Colson Montgomery, he's only hitting about a 220. But Chase Madrith has been able to give you about a 270 average. Mike Talkman's up to about a 350 on base. The catchers in Kyle Teal along with Edgar Quiero, both of these guys have been able to above a 275. You've had in and out of the lineup the likes of Brooks Baldwin along with Luis Robert, but Luis Robert is having a miserable season. And both of these teams have been not great with regards to their bullpen, to say the least. As for the Chicago White Sox, you've had a really nice long guy, Mike Vasil, step up. He and Steven Wilson, a sub 350 ERA, but now they land Elvis Peguero on the injury list, and then the likes of the Tylers and Tyler Alexander, Tyler Gilbert, Brandon Iser, Jordan Leisure, the in and out of the lineup, Grant Taylor, have all been supplying north of a 4 ERA. And for the Baltimore Orioles, man, this has not been great, to say the least. As Keegan Aiken has a long guy, has been able to give you a sub 3.5 ERA. Rico Garcia has not been the world's worst, but Grant Wolfram, Corbin Martin, Ynier Cano, these have been guys that have really been struggling as well. So it leads to a very interesting circumstance. If you do indeed get Tyler Wells against Shane Smith, I would be setting Smith as a little bit of an underdog, as it's been a little bit of a wobbly season for him. As for Shane Smith, the big thing that I want to see from him is to just be able to tone down the walks a little bit more. As for Shane Smith, 3.78 ERA, he's only giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, 8.5 strikeouts per 9, but the 3.6 walks per 9 innings, that's a little bit of an issue. Comes in relatively good form, giving up 6 earned runs over the course of his last 4 starts, and if it were to be someone not named Tyler Wells, this is probably closer to a pick'em line with the Orioles, depending upon the situation. If it is Wells, minus 125 or better, looking at the Orioles, plus 127 or higher, the White Sox, and then 8 or less to the over, 8.5 or higher to the under with Wells. If it's not Wells, 8.5 or less to the over, 9 or higher to the under. 977, 978 on the card. The Yankees are on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Zebby Matthews is on the bump for the Twins, and Cam Schlittler is on the bump for the Yankees. Yankees are a pretty sizable favorite, anywhere between minus 158 to a minus 176, plus 134 to a plus 145 is that number on Minnesota. 9 is the total, under is minus 115, and the over is minus 105. And for Mr. Schlittler, I set the Yankees at a minus 168 on the money line. I was willing to go up to a minus 105 on the run line. Right now, seeing those initial openers, I'm finding that right around about even money over at FanDuel, and as long as I can get in at a minus 105 or better, which I should be able to, I'm going to be looking at the Yankees run line. For Schlittler, he's actually done a nice job coming in and holding down the fort for the New York Yankees. The walks have been a little bit less than tremendous, but he's been able to tone down on those in the last 3 or 4 starts. He's down to about 3.9 walks per 9 innings, 10.1 strikeouts per 9. He's got a fielding dependent more on to 374 compared to a 305 ERA, but He has given up 300 runs or fewer in all but one of his 11 starts. You have to absolutely love what you're seeing there. And for Zebby Matthews, he is doing for some positivity for the Twins. 5.06 ERA, closer to about a 3.67 fielding dependent. The 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, you could use him to tone it down a little bit there, but I mean, he's getting 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.9 walks per 9 innings with the amount of swing and miss that he gets is actually relatively rock solid. And for Zebby Matthews, when he has been at home, it's been much better for him rather than away from him. 6.23 road ERA at home. He's giving up about 0.9 home runs per 9 innings, and he's posting up a 3.56 ERA. Now he's backed up by a bullpen that's just not good for the Twins when you trade away the likes of Louis Varland, Jovan Duran, and all those guys, and you instead try to trot out there Cody Funderburk, Cole Sands, Justin Dopa, Michael Tonkin, all these guys with above a 3.70 ERA. That's what's going to happen. And for the Twins, they've got home run power in this lineup. Like, you've got Byron Buxton, who's been your main guy, 31 home runs. He's given you about a 270 average, 335 on base. That's rock solid. And then you've got other guys who are able to step up around him. Matt Wallner has been able to give you 22 home runs. Cody Clemens is up to 19 home runs. Trevor Larnach, he's up to 16. And Larnach is just sitting at 250. He's been fine, but Wallner, 205 batting average, albeit a 312 on base. Cody Clemens, he had that 3 home run game, but he's still hitting for the season at 220 with a 289 on base. So that's been a big issue, though. Lucas Shield has been able to give you darn near 400 base. That's been rock solid. And for the New York Yankees, on any given night, they could have 1 through 9 in the lineup, all be supplying at least 19 home runs as far this season. As you've got Giancarlo Stanton give you a home run every about 10 or so at bats this season. You've had a few guys be in and out of the lineup, but Cody Bellinger has been a very underrated, low-key guy. 28 home runs, hitting about a 275. Aaron Judge, we all know what he's able to do. Up to 48 bombs at a 447 on base. He's going to win the American League MVP, in my opinion. You've got Jazz Chisholm up to about 29 bombs, about a 340 on base. Things have been a little bit hot and cold in terms of getting on base with Anthony Volpe and Austin Wells both supplying power, but Wells, 21 home runs. He's hitting a 210 with a 267 on base. Volpe, 268 on base, 206 average with his 19 home runs. Leads to an interesting circumstance, especially with the Yankees just pitching terribly in the bullpen. You look since July 1st, they are second worst in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Luke Weaver has not been himself since coming off the injury list. He, Tim Hill, have both give you about a 3.15 to a 3.25 ERA. Yuri De Los Santos has had some massive struggles when he's been out there as well. They had to send him down to the minors for a little bit. We'll see when he resurfaces. David Benhar has probably been your most consistent guy ever since he got to town, as he's been able to give you about a 2.50 or so ERA, but now you've got Fernando Cruz starting to have some issues. Mark Leiter Jr. has been getting lighted up as well, so it does lead to a spot where I do think that the Yankees do get enough out of Schlittler to be able to get the job done. And at a minus 105 or better, I'm going to be willing to lay that run line in. I did sell my total at an 8.7. I think that the Yankees do slug their way to victory. We're seeing between an 8.5 to a 9. Personally, I would rather have an 8.5 over rather than a 9 under with this Yankees lineup, so looking at that 8.5 over, and I do like the Yankees on the run line. 979, 980 on the card. It is the Walker Texas Rangers on the road against the Houston Astros, as Merrill Kelly will indeed get the start for the Texas Rangers. Right now, it's listed as to be determined for the Houston Astros, so that's why this game is off the board. Both ESPN and CBS Sports were lining at Christian Javier for the start, so if you do get one, Christian Javier going up against Merrill Kelly, I did set the Rangers at a slim minus 104 on the money line as a favorite. Would be willing to lay up to a minus 103 there. Plus 105 or better, we'll be looking at the Astros, and then we may total in 8.1, 8 or less. We'll be in on the over, 8.5 for higher, the under. If it's not Christian Javier and it's some sort of a bullpen game with like AJ Blueball and company, I'd probably set this closer to like the Rangers, minus 120, minus 125. That's a little bit of a wait and see situation. Not going to go too deep on Christian Javier, as I know that he has been coming off the injury list and it's been up down all around for him, and he has made just 6 starts thus far. The big thing is he's given up 4.5 walks per 9 innings. He's actually kept the home run ball down. He's only giving up about 1 home run per 9 innings, but he's right now rocking an ERA of a 4.78, so that's been a little bit less than tremendous with 4+ runs allowed in 3 out of his last 4 starts. And when it comes to the flip side, you've got yourself a guy in Merrill Kelly that's just been as steady as they come for the Texas Rangers this season, and he was very steady with the Arizona Diamondbacks earlier in the season as well. 3.21 ERA. Ever since he's gotten to Texas, he's been giving up the home run ball a little bit more. In his 8 starts with Texas, he has given up 9 home runs, so that's something that you do want to be cautious of, but overall for the season, 384 fielding dependent with his 3.21 ERA, getting 8.5 strikeouts at 2.4 walks per 9 innings, and now gets to face off against an Astros team that is in the bottom 2 in the American League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Jose Altuve continues to be actually very rock solid for the team. He's supplying 25 home runs, hitting in the neighborhood about a 265, and then Got a lot of guys. They're giving you a solid average, but not so much production with regards to an on-base percentage. Like Christian Walker is hitting about a 240 with 23 home runs, 300 on base. Yanier Diaz, 260 average is fine with 19 home runs. The 288 on base, you need a little bit more there. Mauricio Jovan is hitting about a 250, but a 293 on base. So these guys are really not walking a ton. Carlos Correa has given the team a nice shot in the arm ever since they picked him up. 6 home runs and 160 at-bats, 350 on base. He looks like the Carlos Correa that we all know and love from the Houston Astros. And this has been an Astros bullpen that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Problem is right now with Josh Hader and Bennett Sosa being on the injured list, it is a little bit more thin. Now, if you do get AJ Bluebaugh as a little bit of a long guy, he's been able to supply a sub 250 ERA. He has actually been rock solid, and now they're getting JP France off the injured list as well. They plan to probably utilize him out of the bullpen, but have the Bryants and Brian King, Brian Abreu, Steven Okert, who've all been able to give you a sub 330 ERA. And when it comes to the other end, you've got a Texas Rangers bunch that continues to be in the top 8 in the big leagues in terms of their bullpen ERA as well. Albeit Phil Matone, ever since he's gotten to town, he's overall for the season got a sub 3 ERA, but he's been rocking an ERA that's closer to about a 4 with the Texas Rangers. But you've been able to get relatively good production out of some of these, shall we say, more cast off, just mix and match sort of guys out of the bullpen. Hobie Milner has been starting to regress a little bit with about a 350 ERA, but likes of Robert Garcia, Sean Armstrong, Chris Martin, they've been able to give you a sub 3 ERA. And then for the Texas Rangers, despite the fact that they've been banged up, the offense has actually been rock solid recently, albeit since the injury to Corey Seager, it's been a little bit more wobbly, but I mean, still, even without Corey Seager, you've got Wyatt Langford stepping up with 21 home runs, 340 on base. They are supplying, by the way, since the beginning of the month of July, right around about 4.9 runs per game. They've been a top 10 offense ever since then. I don't know how sustainable it is, because you got someone like Alejandro Ozuna seeing big at-bats, hitting about a 200. It's been a case where Evan Carter was really helping the team out in that time span as well. He's back on the injured list, likely done for the season. Kyle Higashioka, since the beginning of the month of July, is hitting about a 275 or so. He's been on help, and you've got the Joshes, Josh Smith, Josh Young, both hitting in the neighborhood about a 250, but Jake Berger has really stepped up as well since coming off the injured list. He's been solid, up to about 16 home runs at a 250 average thus far this season, but you look at him ever since he's come off the IL, and he's been able to supply this team with 4 home runs in his first 44 at-bats and hitting above a 300, so it does lead me to setting the Rangers as a bit of a favorite. If it is Javier going up against Merrill Kelly, -103 or better, looking at the Rangers. Not Javier, more like probably a -125 or so, and then 8 or Leslie over 8.5 prior to the under, whether there it is Javier or if it is more of that bullpen game. And then we wrap things up with 981, 982 on the card. It is the Angels on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers. Freddie Peralta is on the bump for the Crew. Caden Donna is on the bump for the Angels. Angels, sizable underdogs here, anywhere between +205 to a +220. Meanwhile, -260 to -270 is the number on the Brewers. Total on this game, it is 8. The over is -120. The under is even. Right now, the Brewers run line is a -110, and that's a bargain in my opinion. I set mine at a -132, so sign me up there on the Brewers run line. Caden Donna, I just feel like is being sent to the big league level a little bit too early by the Angels. And Angels love to send guys up to the big league level very, very early on, but you take a look at Caden Donna, and it's been rough for him both last year and this year. He's made 4 appearances thus far this season, rocking a 6.32 ERA with having given up 4 home runs and 11 walks in 15 2/3 innings, and last year he posted up a 9.58 ERA in a small sample size at the big league level, so both have been very much less than savory. It's not even like he was lighting the world on fire at the minor league level, has been giving up a lot of deep balls, has been having a tough time with regards to his command, and for Freddie Peralta, he has his walks issues as well. 2.69 ERA, but a 3.64 fielding independent, as he is giving up right in that neighborhood about 3.5 walks per 9 innings. He's still been able to get good strikeout stuff, 10.2 strikeouts per 9 innings, and gave up 0 runs in 5 out of his last 6 starts. They lit up a little bit in his last start against the Texas Rangers, and has been remarkably better when he has been at home rather than away from home, as he's got a ERA that's a $1.72 at home with 0.6 home runs per 9 innings, 3.72 road ERA with 1.4 home runs allowed per 9 innings, but he's backed up by a Brewers team that's right there at the top of the National League in terms of run creation ever since the All-Star break. Not even doing it with a ton of power. Christian Yelich has been your main man in terms of supplying the power. He's been able to give the team 27 home runs. Lone guy on the roster with 20-plus bombs, as you've also got Jackson Trio at approximately 20 home runs. But this is a Brewers team that's just built around moving the line, finding a way to be able to get on base, as Yelich is a part of a cavalcade of different guys. They're just posting up a 343 on base or better. He, Sal Frelick, William Contreras, Bryce Turang, Isaac Collins. These guys have all been there, and if you look at a Brewers uniform and a Brewers uniform only, Andrew Vaughn, 375 on base. Heck, even Andrew Monasterio's up to about a 335 on base. All these guys are just producing for this team, and for the Brewers, they've been dealing with a few bullpen ailments, as you got Trevor McGill currently on the injured list, Nick Mears as well. These have been two rock-solid guys, but Grant Anderson has been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Eric Fetty's actually been able to give you a few solid innings out of the bullpen. Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, long guys are able to give you a sub-250 ERA, and for the LA Angels, continues to be one of the worst bullpens in the big leagues, even with having a pair of guys in Brock and Roll Burke, along Kenley Jansen, who've done a relatively solid job being able to supply you with an ERA that is below a 3.5. You've been able to get a few okay innings as well from Robert Stevenson. He's down to about a 3.5 ERA, but then you've got the likes of Ryan Zephyrian, Sam Bachman, Carson Fulmer, Connor Brogdon, all these guys who have been posting up above a 4.50 ERA. And for the LA Angels, just an all-or-nothing team. They're in the top 5 of the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis, bottom 6 in terms of on-base percentage. Zach Neto, 26 home runs, 260 average. He's been one of the main constants for this team. And then Taylor Ward's up to 31 home runs, but he's hitting at 223. Joel setting fire to the rain with 36 home runs, approximately 300 on base. And then Logan O'Hoppe is exactly what this Angels team is in a nutshell. 19 home runs, but a 260 on base. Heck, even Mike Trout is hitting for just a 231, albeit 361 on base, 21 home runs. But with all that said, I do like the Brewers here on the run line. Set them at a minus 132, and I think that they get to Caden Don on company semi-total at an 8.8. I like the over, and that'll wrap things up for the Tuesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Big thanks to Jovan Alford of Total Sports Live for joining me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one of two ways we refer those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review, and I'll be you guys every single day on this podcast throughout the regular season into the postseason. So I'll be back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
At Capella University, we believe accessible education can make a difference. That's why we offer scholarship opportunities to all eligible students. Un futuro diferente está más cerca de lo que crees con Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu.